It's a starting. Hey, I think we're on.
Yay!
Hey, everybody. Better late than never.
We made it.
218. We're here. I'm Jen, the punchy picker. And everybody else, introduce yourself.
Hey,
ahead,
everybody. I'm Tanya, Thrifty Treasures here on YouTube and Instagram.
Hello, I'm Tam at Tam's Place.
Awesome. So we have the three musketeers of thrifting.
Thrifty Treasures here on YouTube and Instagram.
Yep.
Hello, I'm Tam at Tam's Place.
Okay. Awesome. So we have the three musketeers.
Okay.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Okay. So today we're just going to talk about how we do in first quarter. No, we talked about goals last time we were on, and just wanted to see if you guys, do you even remember what your goals were? And how is that going? How are sales since the holiday is done? And we are now into the first week of March, if you can believe it already. So I guess we'll start with Tam. So how have your sales in that been so far this year after the holidays?
Not too bad actually. Well, January was not great, but it's picked up since, so not too bad.
Okay.
And of course that's expected because it's right after the holidays, so not a big deal. I mean, I made my rent, and so that's good.
Okay, and Tanya, how are you doing?
Actually doing pretty good. I'm hoping as soon as we're done here with the show to run out to my booth right quick to pick up a check. So that's good.
Checks are always good.
Checks are good. Yes, they are.
So since the beginning of the year, January and February has been like really, really good. February, the last 2 or 3 checks are like the highest I have had in the 10 years I've been doing this.
Wow.
And I'm not sure. I mean, I know some things that, Kim and I in our booth are implementing are really making a difference. But I mean, I can't really say, I found this awesome gold egg and this is what I'm selling. And, there's the secret to my success. But it's been really good. But of course, living in an area that has bad weather, if you get a really crappy, really bad day outside, then nobody wants to go out and drive. And then some days when the weather does get a little bit nice and it hits 50, there's people here in Cleveland wearing shorts and,
Right.
going, doing stuff in their yard and, ready to jump into the spring season. So weather plays a big part in our area. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. I mean, here in Texas, I mean, for the most part, we pretty much have the same weather all the time. I mean, very rarely do we ever get like snow like you guys get where things have to be shut down. But since we are used to the warmer weather, when it does get colder and raining, nobody wants to go anywhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I always laugh when I see on the news, I'm like, somewhere got an inch of snow and people are just like freaking out and the school's shut down. I'm like, oh, you people need to move up here. So I know Tam was getting some snow this morning.
Yes. And like I said, last week it was in the 60s. And this past weekend, actually, my husband and I were out and I saw like the first garage sale sign and I was like, oh my gosh, yard sales already? Because usually they don't start till, usually mid to late April here, or at least I don't see any till then.
Right.
So, and then now this week, it's like, it was a blizzard this morning for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Last night, Kim and I always usually go out to our booth on Wednesday, restock and straighten, and then we spend a little girl time together. We went shopping last night. But on the way home, it was like 10 o'clock, and it was just like, as soon as I left the city limits and I was like 2 cities away, it was just like a whiteout. I was like, holy cow. So yeah, it's funny because my sister and I only live like 15 minutes apart, and she'll get dumped on and I won't, because you got the the snow, the snow belt as they call it in this area. So yeah, it's crazy. You never know what's going to happen. So, but like I said, sales have been really good. We did some big booth changes. We had changed out some shelves. That's been good. We have a few more little areas where I actually have like the 3 cubbies. It's like the tall, they're stacked on top of each other. I just got 2 more. They're sitting right next to me. My son put one together. So those are like the last 2 pieces of display that we can fit into the booth comfortably. So yeah, and that was something I kind of wanted to talk about today. I know in every mall, like we have over 100 vendors. What about size do you guys have again?
My mall is huge. I mean, I should ask how many vendors we have, but I would say we definitely probably have over 100 easily.
Okay, and Tam?
And I'm thinking that, as a matter of fact, I was talking to the mall owner the other day, and I think that we have like 90, 94, 97, something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but it's just under 100.
Yeah, you know what? It really depends too, not only on the size of the mall, but there's so many vendors that do have multiple spaces.
Yeah.
So that's a big consideration. I know the previous mall I was at has over 200 vendors.
Oh,
so
my.
literally the store is twice the size of where I'm at now. And before we left that place, we had a double size mall or double size booth, 200 square feet. And it was crazy because I'm actually doing better in a single space where I'm at now than I did with a double space at the last place. So even though it's probably a half an hour apart from where I am to where I was, it's a whole different clientele there. And I like it better where I'm at just because I am able to ask higher prices and some higher end things that probably wouldn't have sold there or definitely wouldn't have sold for as much. So I'm doing much better in this area, and it's closer to home.
Yeah.
So that's a big issue. How far are you guys from your malls again?
I am probably, well, the town that I live in is it's a college town, but it's really small. But there's another town my town and another town are in the same county. So it's not really that far. If I were to guess, I would say maybe 7 or 8 miles.
Oh, that's good.
Something like that. Yeah, it's not too far. It's not bad at all.
Yeah. Tanya, how far are you from yours?
Mine's pretty far. It's probably, a good 15, 20-minute drive.
That isn't too bad. I know when I was at the previous place, we had someone who was renting a space that lived in Pittsburgh. And that's literally like 2.5 hours away. So that's just crazy.
That is crazy.
I don't know. I mean, if you're that far away, you have to consider gas and wear and tear in your car. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to figure in if it's worth it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe only going once or twice a month.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's, I know we have to be at our space at least once a week because otherwise things get so, if it's busy, things get trashed. I mean, it just looks like someone just went in there and just moved stuff all over. So,
right.
I know.
People want to leave their empty coffee cups in there and their candy wrappers.
The candy wrappers, we had some purses and it looked like a couple of wrappers. Somebody just kind of like pitched them behind them. Like, really? People are so funny. But every time I complain about, oh, look how messy, my sister goes, that means people were in here. I'm like, I know. So, yeah. So I guess an issue we've had in our mall recently is we have some vendors that have stuffed their booth to the point where it is, it's just beyond, oh, wow, that's full. There's one vendor in particular that when she comes in and works in her booth, she probably busts like $25 worth of stuff. If she's in her booth more than an hour and you hear a crash, you're like, oh no, I know who that is. So, do you guys find that in your mall that you have that issue? That there's some booths that are just so stuffed you just can't walk in there?
Yeah.
There's one in that I can think of right off the top of my head in my vendor mall that's like that. Like when you go in to this person's booth, it's overwhelming. Like you can't see everything. Like it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. And she sells a lot of smalls. So when you have a lot of smalls, that's overwhelming in a booth. Like if you have big stuff and small stuff, it's a little bit different. But if you have mostly all smalls, whew, it's a lot.
I don't, and you know what? I usually won't even walk in there. Like I'm scared I'm going to trip and
break something.
Yes. Or I'm going to break something of theirs. So I just,
yep.
And if
hey,
you have
Jen, real quick, I wanted to tell you your sister's here. She says, hi, Sissy Pooh.
She's my Sissy Pooh. Yeah, she's probably out working, and I told her yesterday, I'm like, make sure you tune in if you're, if you're working, that she's where different places so she can check in and have that playing. So awesome. Yep, I love my sister. I tell you, having her as a partner in crime, I tell you, it makes this whole job so much more fun.
Yeah,
because it's our girl time under the disguise of work.
Right. That's so awesome that you guys have each other.
And being able to have someone that you can bounce ideas off of, or if you're like, we should this and that, and they just look at you like, okay, you're getting a little carried away now. And as forgetful as both of us are, I say between the two of us, we have one full functioning brain. So yeah. So yeah, it's having so much stuff in a booth. I mean, I have a decent sized purse, and I am no petite wallflower person. So if I walk into a booth and you move and you hear something do that little tick, 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 like it's gonna fall over, you just like freeze, like, I don't want to knock anything over. And like you said, I will avoid going in a space, and customers are thinking that same way, that they don't want to step in there either.
Definitely.
So yeah. So Tanya, I know Tam says she can think of one person. I think every mall has at least one or two. What about your mall? Do you have someone who's does that too?
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned the smalls, and I can think of one lady in particular that does do a whole bunch of smalls and not so much a lot of the bigs. And it's just overwhelming. I mean, it's just like stuff and stuff and stuff. And it's, yeah.
I'd say we have a lot of smalls too. And it seems that when it comes to that, having things staged or having things arranged in a way that makes sense, so that you just don't come in and your eyes are just roving all over and you're like, I don't even know where to look.
Right.
So yeah, smalls can be good, but like you said, to have things so crammed, and then there seems to be a few more vendors on the total opposite end of the spectrum who have, like, if you walked in and looked and you said, if everything in this booth sold right this minute, they probably wouldn't make their rent. So that's also something that, making good use of the space. Some people have everything crammed, and then other people, it's just like so sparse that you wonder how they make money. So do you guys have anybody that's that does that, Tam, in your space?
That make good use of the space? Is that
no,
what you
that
meant?
actually like have barely, like, not enough in their booth?
Oh yeah, definitely. We have a few of those. So yeah, definitely.
And we have such a high turnover rate in our mall that so many people are coming in and setting stuff up. And I don't know if they just bring in a few items and then maybe they're going to bring back some more stuff later. But there are a lot of sparse booths as well too.
One thing that I've noticed in our antique mall is it seems like people that have the bigger booths around the perimeter and the ones that are like standalone booths pretty much stay. But it seems like we have a little bit more of a turnover for people that have shelves. So I don't know if you all
in their booth.
No, they have. It's just a shelving unit. It's just a one single shelf unit, And it seems like we have a little more turnover on those than like the standalone and the bigger booths around the perimeter. So I don't know do you all have areas in your mall where you have like shelving units, just people can just rent a shelf, or is it just individual, standalone booths?
For my place, as far as I know, it's just the booths, but I wish there were some shelves that we could rent. I might want to experiment with that.
I've seen other people who are posting in our Facebook, and we're so happy with all the people that are joining and showing their booth.
Yes.
And then you do see that where some people have like a wall of shelves or 2 shelves, and that's something that I've never experienced either where I'm at or where I was previously. I guess talking about how full a booth is, if there's only a certain amount of items, or they seem to be like sparse, and then they have a turnover, I guess you have to consider why these people are setting up. I mean, is it I got a lot of stuff, I need to just move this stuff, or my house is cluttered, or I inherited a lot of things from, a relative or someone who passed away recently, or is this a business? Is this something I'm going into? It's going to be sustainable. I'm actively looking for items to put in the space. And I believe that's what the 3 of us are doing.
Right.
But I think for the shelf or something, that is maybe just more temporary for people.
Yeah. I find it might be more temporary, but then also it's a good way for, like, if you wanted to get started doing this, because the rent is, considerably cheaper, or at least in my antique mall, it's considerably cheaper. So it's a good way to get started, to kind of get your feet wet and see how things are going to sell, and, that type of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I guess Pixel and Tater are chiming in. I just texted my husband. He's home working. I'm like, take care of the dogs. Hopefully, yeah. The mailman probably had the audacity to walk across the front lawn.
Right.
So, yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like presentation is everything with your items and in your booth, because I feel like that's a lot of the reason why I failed at my attempt to run a second booth, because I didn't have all the nice shelving set up. And I feel like if I would have had the shelf set up in my second booth, it would have been a lot easier for me to keep that going and for the presentation to look nice. And I just didn't take the time to do that. And I really think it would have made all the difference in the world. Like the booth I'm in right now, I would never leave, like, unless I died or became disabled, because, my husband and my grandpa took the time to put up those shelves for me. And it's such a space saver, right? We're talking about utilizing the space, and it really utilizes a lot of space. So
hang on, I'm gonna go close my door.
So
okay. Okay.
Oh, this is funny.
Sorry about that. I seem to be the only one in the house that has ears, and I hear the dogs barking. Oh. Everybody's probably tethered to their computers. So, yeah, talking about, the reasons why we're setting up. And I don't know, I've always kind of approached this as a business, and that's really how I want it to be, because I wanted to make money, and that's the whole reason I've set up, my space. And, tending to it, like Tanya said, that's huge, because if you're not in there, you're not actively tending to it and working it. Right. I mean, that affects your bottom line and your sales. When I'm on top of it and I'm there every week, I'm restocking, straightening, moving stuff around, that's when the sales, show me that it's working that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, what we talked about just, briefly about, being further away, that really inhibits how much you can be there. And that really can be a factor as well. Because like you said, if you can only go out once a week or twice a month, if your booth looks constantly the same, or there's, no movement, nothing's coming in, everything looks the same, people will just keep walking. They don't even stop in.
Right.
So,
I
yeah.
think that's kind of nice how your booth makes you be there at least once a week. My booth doesn't have any requirements like that. Like I could set that booth up and not come back for 6 months.
Yeah.
I can
No.
even pay my rent by phone. So
Yeah, see, it doesn't require me to be there. I require me to be there. So,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, that's something because it's like a garden, you just don't show up and there's dirt and you throw some seeds down and go, well, I'll be back with my basket to,
Yeah.
pick all my tomatoes.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. The more you
Right.
tend it and pay attention and you're just on top of it,
Yeah.
that makes a world of difference. Tam, do you find that to be the case as well?
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
So yeah, that's something I mean, it's a rare thing if Kim and I aren't out there regularly. We work 2 days a month, so she's usually there on a Saturday. I'm usually there on a Friday. So it's one of those, even if something comes up and we can't get out there, the weather's really bad or whatever, or if she's out of town or I'm out of town, then we just make an effort like, hey, you're working Saturday. Can you get there an extra few minutes and, go in and, kind of fluff it up and make sure everything's reasonable. So that's something that we definitely do. And we also have a chore at the end of the day that you can sign up. There's a whole list of them. And our aisle is the only one that has carpet. They had to do some repairs on the floor and they did put carpeting in before they opened. And we always try and get to sweep, take the sweeper and sweep that aisle so we can just go into our booth and do a quick little, little sweep in there. Cause I know there's some people that they have cute chippy furniture, but there's a lot of chippy on the floor. And that's something. Do you guys see that some people are better about keeping things, the floor clean and just basic general maintenance? Tanya, do you see that that's an issue with some people?
I don't really notice a whole lot because our floors are like, what do you call that? Is it called linoleum? What's it called? Like
Yeah.
it's like it was in an old grocery store. It was an old grocery store, so it's kind of like that type of flooring. But I do have a rug in my booth, and it is hard for me to keep it clean because they don't really have a vacuum. They just have those old timey things like the restaurants use that you roll it and it picks up. And
That's
it never
good.
picks
The
up.
only thing
enough.
those things are good for is exercise.
Right? Back and forth. But yeah. So
Yeah.
I guess I probably have to. I don't even own a vacuum because we don't even have carpet in the house. So I'm not going to go buy one just to do my booth with. So
See, now that's the difference between Texas and Ohio. Even if we have like hardwood floors in the house, I have rugs down because the floor gets cold around here in the wintertime.
yeah, that's true.
So Tanya, you said your place used to be a grocery store. Ours was the first place I was in was a grocery store, and the place I'm in now used to be a Big Lots.
Oh wow.
So
yeah.
Tam, what about your place? What's the history of your place?
My place used to be an old CarQuest. So it's not real big, but I mean, it's pretty good size. But back to what you were saying about people, not keeping their booths, tidy. And
Yeah.
One thing that I've noticed is if you go into antique malls, or at least I've noticed, if they're like privately owned, like the ones that we have ours at, they seem to be a little bit more tidy, or at least that's what I have experienced. But if I go into a Peddlers Mall, there is so many booths that it looks like they're using it as a storage unit.
What's a Peddlers Mall?
Like, oh, do you all not have those there?
Well, I don't know. What is it? Is that what it's called?
Well, yeah, they're called, and it's like a chain. Well, they're in Kentucky, but they're like a chain. It's just called Peddlers Mall, and there's like probably, I don't know how many are in Kentucky, maybe 20 in Kentucky.
I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of a chain, or never heard of them, or a chain of these type of stores. That's interesting.
Yeah, they're Peddlers Mall, and usually they're huge. Like the one that's in Lexington, Kentucky, is in an old Hoover's furniture store, and it's 2 levels, and then it has like 3 other buildings that have been added onto it. So it's probably one of the biggest Peddlers Malls I've ever been in. There might be some bigger ones in Louisville, Kentucky, but this one in Lexington is the biggest one I've ever seen. So, and
That's
I've noticed
really
that, it seems like in the Peddlers Malls, they don't really care about their vendors or what their booths look like or anything. They just let them do whatever. But then when you go into like privately owned antique malls, they seem to be a little bit more, nicer.
Yeah, definitely. Like our owners are there every day, at least one of them. Every time I go in, I see at least one of the owners there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's funny. I've never heard of a chain of our type of stores before, but yeah. And you know what? It's one of those things, like if you're renting a space, we have in the one county over, they have a building on the fairgrounds that you can rent a space in there. And it's like an old horse barn. And I don't know how much the rent is, but the scale of the items there and the way people have things set up is kind of not so good. So I think when you go into a place and you know what their rent is, I think that kind of sets the stage for, what are my expectations on how, what I'm going to bring in and how I should keep it, and how rent, if it's over a certain amount, kind of does keep people out who just want to, have like a mini dollar store type situation.
I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I know it's in the best interest of the mall owners to make sure that, people are bringing in not only nice items, but to have things look nice, because it only takes maybe one aisle or a few booths for somebody to walk in and go, "Ooh, this is kind of crappy," or "This place kind of smells funny," or, it only takes that much for them. They don't even get to, some of the other booths that might have nicer items or more upscale items. So, it's one of those, you don't want somebody to move in and then, it ends up making everybody look bad. So,
yeah, I've been really fortunate. The space that I'm in, everybody around me and even the newcomers have kept a really nice booth. But honestly, I would say in our mall, we kind of have maybe a little bit of that. There might be a little bit of that. Some things that might not look so clean. I don't know if because they're antique-y, they might look dirty, but I think that our mall's got a mix of all of that stuff.
yeah, it's funny. It's sometimes you'll pick up something and you're like, "Oh, wow, look at this glass jar. It's really old." You pick it up and there's like dead bugs in it. You're like, really? You really have dead bugs in the bottom, and they've probably been there a decade. Who knows?
Right.
So, I mean, there's kind of a difference between patina and just plain, just dirt.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I understand you don't want to scrub something to the edge of its life, to make it look a certain way, but definitely turn it over and, give it a tap on the end and knock all the carcasses out before you bring it out. It's funny because, I mean, having a store like ours, like what we do it really is a personality thing. You have so many different people from so many different backgrounds. And that's what makes, I think, it so interesting and eclectic. It's not like you go into a McDonald's, down the street from me, and then, Tam goes down and gets a hamburger and it's the exact same thing. I mean, there's this standard to the point of everything is, it is what it is. It's always going to be that way no matter where you go, because it's a chain. So I love the individualness, the personality that all the people seem to bring into, the mall.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what makes it so much fun, right?
Yeah.
Because you kind of get a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
In a nice way. Hey,
there's some people, there's a couple ladies there that I told them I'm just gonna adopt you, and I give them a hug. And there's some of the older ones there, boy, and some of the ladies, they smell so good, and they're just grandma types. And then there's a few that that you're just like, okay, it's a little bit strange, a little bit odd, but all together, we're kind of like a family there. That it's really funny that we had one of our older vendors had to put her husband in a nursing home recently, so she was quite stressed out about that. And then she had a little bit of health issues and was in the hospital a couple of days. And she had been talking about moving from a double space to a single space. So when one became available, and she had just been out of the hospital a few days, they painted the new space. Some of the vendors that were working went in and packed some of her stuff, moved some of the larger pieces, and then put some stuff in the booth. And then one day that I was working, they said, can you go over and like set it up and stage it and hang some things on the wall and make it look nice? And she came in when I was probably about 70% done and was just in tears. I can't believe you guys. Oh, everything looks so good. And
you guys really are a family over there.
Yeah. So we really look after each other, and it's, it's just like family, regular family trees. You shake a family tree and a few nuts are going to fall out,
I know that's right.
Some more than others, but it is kind of fun and eclectic, and and we always since we work there too, and there's no employees, I think that makes such a big difference in our mall, because when I help you as a vendor, I'm helping myself too. And when new people, we hurry up and we're helping to get stuff moved so somebody new can move in. That's bringing in new lifeblood and new business. So when I help you as a vendor, it's helping me too. And that's the mentality, I think, of a co-op situation is what we have. And it just really makes a big difference, I think.
Definitely. So we did have a question in the chat. So Vincent asked, do you guys ever run sales to clear out old merchandise? And this leads into what's going on at my mall this month. So it's March and we're having a big sale, March Madness. And guess what percentage I'm doing, you guys? Do you remember?
No. What is it, 50?
50%. I made like $500 in December when I did this, you guys. And I am so okay with that.
Wow.
I don't even care. Like, I'm not even kidding. The past couple times I had gone to the booth, I mean, I was just cramming stuff in there, just stuffing it full to the max. So I'm hoping when I go out there today that I'm seeing some empty spots, you guys.
Yeah. Tam, what about you guys? I think that's a this time of year thing too, because people are starting to think spring and moving stuff out.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So, what I have started doing is I have started going through, I have got my booth pretty full right now, and I have been selling some stuff, but what I'm working on is trying to, excuse me, get stuff that I have had in my booth that I have not sold, that I've even marked down on sale. And I'm just getting everything together for a big garage sale, because I guess probably my goal for 2018 is to get my garage back in order, get things cleared out that haven't sold, and so I can get ready for the new yard sale season. Yay!
That's so funny that you bring that up, because just yesterday my husband was like, Tanya, this garage, we've got to do something about it.
My husband actually, he said, you can put whatever you want in here, as long as I can get my car in here, you got free reign. So
that's what I feel like.
There's like one little bitty tiny right in the middle that the car just perfectly fits, and you can open the door, and all around the perimeter the ceiling is full.
Exactly. Same here.
Good thing he doesn't have a sunroof, or you'd probably make him crawl out of that so you could fit a few
right. You're so lucky, Jen, because you have a basement. I wish so much that we had a basement.
So awesome. Yes.
Yeah, I love my basement, and the half that I use is it has been getting a little out of control, and now that the weather is going to start getting better, I'm like, I really need to make some more room for more stuff to come in. So as
You
organized
only use half of your basement?
Well,
I believe
the
I'll
other
probably have
half,
that whole
yeah,
thing.
the other half has like a bathroom and a workroom and my washer and dryer and
Yeah.
Don't give me any ideas. So yeah, and I was telling you guys before we started, I don't think Tam was here to hear that, but I said, we're renting now, and I said in a couple of years when we get a house, we're talking about maybe possibly doing a duplex and living on one side and having everything else on the other side.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and it's not that much more expensive than if we just got a house. So that's something we are considering. So that would be nice to have, it like a whole one side, and then down the road, if our needs change, then that's something that we could rent out or so. And to get back to Vincent's question, our anniversary month of when our mall opened is in April. So we kind of have like what this week we're calling a celebration, where a lot of people are doing a percentage off of their booth, or we have special blue tags that you put the new price, and that is half off whatever price is on. And then even if you have a further sale, the blue tags don't change. It's always still that 50% off of, the original tag. So we have a 25 by 25, chrome and glass shelving unit, if anybody's ever watched my my tour videos. And we have a lot of clearance stuff on it now. So as soon as this week and the next week or so is over, we're going to be restaging that, and we're going to be doing white items, silver, like chrome, and glass, clear glass. So we're kind of doing that. So anything that fits into that category, whether it's a candle holder or a frame or a bird cage or anything, as long as it fits in those colors, that's how we're going to be staging it out for spring.
That's a fun sale. That's kind of like how Hobby Lobby does their sales too, right? Like glass on sale and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to be staging next. But it seems like after summer you got fall, and then the holiday season or winter, and that kind of thing. It's always that's how it has to be planned out. So once spring comes, we have several months before summer that we can kind of stage it how we want, which is kind of cool. So that's what we're choosing to do next time. So
we had another question in the chat from Real Nifty Vintage. Ask, is your booth your main income source or is online? And I'm guessing they mean like, eBay and stuff like that.
Okay, well, I know Tam doesn't sell on eBay. So Tam, why don't you take it? How does that figure into your budget for your family?
It's a little bit, not a lot, not by any means, but it's a little bit.
Okay, and Tanya, I know you sell online. Do you do Etsy?
Girl, also? I do everything.
I figured.
Tanya is Superwoman.
So I do Amazon, I do Etsy. I've recently got into Poshmark, and I do eBay too, longtime eBayer. So this is just a little slice of the pie for me.
So what percentage would you say that figures into all of the income you have coming in from those different avenues? What is the booth? Like what percentage would that be? Just guessing.
I would say probably about 25%.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like eBay, over the last 2 months, I've been doing so much better in the booth that eBay, usually item for item, and time spent, eBay, does get more money for me. But it seems like just like I said, last 2 months, I mean, January was probably a good $700 profit, and I was just shocked by that.
Right. I wanted to ask you, do you think that's because, is this your first like January and February in the new place?
No, actually, this September it'll be 3 years that we've been there.
Has it really been that long?
Yeah,
wow.
I know, it's crazy.
Time flies.
We were at the previous place 7.5 years. So we've been doing this for almost a decade, which is crazy. But yeah, but I mean, just the last 2 months, I mean, the booth sales have outmaneuvered the eBay sales. And my husband, of course, has a full-time job and insurance and all that other good
Yeah,
stuff.
same
And
here.
he loves what he does. And so mine started, maybe I would even say it kind of started as a hobby, and then it turned into I'm making enough to keep reinvesting into the business. And I would say now, what I pay for is I pick up things that we need. I've been taking care of the dogs, like healthcare and vet stuff.
That can
Any
get expensive.
yeah, and any like anything out of pocket for medical for the three of us, my son included. That I've been taking care of that. And I also am made a personal goal to put a chunk of money away each month for our house. We're going to be probably buying in the next couple of years. So I've been doing that. And also we have a credit card that we use just for new tires, car repair, that kind of thing. And I've been covering that as well. So it feels good in that way to contribute and help financially in a way, in something that I absolutely love to do. So that's
awesome.
big thing. I always tell people, some people say, oh, well, I resell as a hobby. And I'm like, a hobby takes money, a job makes money. So there's nothing wrong with a hobby. And if you like to have a booth because, it keeps you out of trouble and it's fun, you can feed your shopping thing without, with making money with it, that's fine. But I've always looked at this as a way to make money and to, bring in some income for myself and for my family. So that's how I look at it. And it's, I'm very fortunate that my husband has a good job as well. I know not a lot of people are two income, or, I mean, I'm to the point now where I'm making a full-time income between the booth and eBay.
That's awesome.
So yeah. And like you said, Poshmark, I'm going to try and start selling on there. There's also a group on Facebook called Fat2, FAT. I think it is, and they do big girl size clothes. So I think I might try and sell on there as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know, eBay for clothes for me. I don't know. It's just I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't get into it as much as a lot of people do.
Listen,
I just like
Jen, I'm telling you, if you try Poshmark, we've all been doing eBay for so long, and it's just it's so refreshing and fun to sell on a new platform. And I think once you get over there and see people talking with you and the sharing that goes on, I think that you're really going to like it. People think, oh, Poshmark's too time consuming, right? But it's really not. I mean, if I see a party's going on, it takes me like 1 minute or less to share a couple of my items to a party. It takes no time at all. It's so easy. And I've had like 6 or 7 sales now over there. And,
nice.
And stuff that's just been sitting on eBay forever.
I'm actually thinking about trying Poshmark myself, Tanya.
Yes, you girls, come on over and join me. I would love that.
Yeah, because I've bought a few things off of Poshmark. So I
haven't bought anything yet.
Yeah, I've bought a few things. There's a few go-to brands that I really enjoy. So I'll go on there and I'll find something and I basically know, what I want, and I'll grab it. So yeah, so that's, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just, I was telling you before this, I'm like, I have to do some live shows because everybody's doing them. I don't want to be left out. And, when it comes to that, when it's something new, my brain's like, no, I don't want to learn anything new. And I just don't want to be that way. And I want to keep expanding and doing more things and, seeing what works better somewhere else, as opposed to just eBay. I don't know, eBay and my booth, it's like an old tennis shoe, it's like, it's
right. I know.
reliable, it's comfy and it fits and it and it's yours and it's and putting on a new pair of shoes, they look nice, but you're like, oh, I gotta I got to redo how I do things, and I got to stop thinking of it as a roadblock and think of it as something new to do.
Right. But that's why you're going to continue to innovate and make money, because you're willing to try the new things. You're willing to try the Facebook groups. You're willing to give Poshmark a shot. So, and I think that's where a lot of people find themselves getting stuck, and they don't really want to do anything at all. And they think reselling isn't working. They're not just, they have to keep an open mind, right? Yeah. Be willing to roll with the changes.
Yeah. And I think, with the booth, there's changes. There's certain colors, there's certain items, there's certain, looks that come and go. And we understand that. And we try to ride that out. And, I will admit, my name is Jen, and I have sold hillbilly wine glasses before. I rode that wave until it crashed. Yes, I did. So, we all know, we're all constantly changing in our booth because we know that's what we have to do to keep it fresh and keep people interested. So, why would other reselling be any different? It's true. Sure. So I guess, talking about what we've done in our spaces, have you guys done any big changes or any, anything different as of the beginning of the year? Tam, have you done anything?
Yes, I have. I completely rearranged my entire booth. And I'm working on a video to get that out, because I also do a tour of my antique mall. So that way you all can see what it looks like and how big it is.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to get that video up sometime this afternoon. But yeah, I went in and completely rearranged my entire booth, because it had been the same way since we moved there, and I was just kind of tired of it. So
yeah, I can't wait for a video.
Thought it needed a fresh look. And then I also, this will be in my video, I bought this. It kind of looks like a window box, but I don't think that it was used for that, because it doesn't have any sides. So even if you put one of those, whatever those coconut husk things to hold the soil in, it doesn't have sides, so the soil will fall out the sides. But anyway, I got that at a garage sale last year, and I have put that in my booth, and that's a new way that I have displayed my purses. So I have all my purses hanging from the bottom of it, and then the part up at the top that's flipped around, all my wristlets and wallets are in that.
You're so creative, definitely.
Yeah. So actually, my husband found that last year while we were at a yard sale, and I was going to pay. I was like, oh, I don't know about that. He was like, you better get this. It's only $3. He said, you might be able to use it as a display or something. And I was like, hey, okay. Been sitting in my garage ever since.
I think I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, yeah. So I finally got it in my antique booth. It looks really good. I've had a lot of compliments on it. So
awesome.
Isn't that neat? It's so funny when you see something, you're like, I don't really think I can use $3. Yeah.
I think I'll pick that
sucker up.
Right.
Yeah.
I always say when I see something in the store and I'm like, ooh, I want that. I need that in my life. Give me some of that. Yeah. So, I don't know, not always are the items that are going to be helpful and useful in our space are so obvious to us. But that's good.
That's why I always like to take my husband thrifting and yard selling with me, because sometimes 4 eyes are better than 2.
Yeah.
Not here. My husband wouldn't let me buy anything. He'd be like, you don't need that.
Well, actually, my husband, he likes going with me. And when we go, I usually tell him, I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be looking for this, and you're going to be looking for this. Because like a big thing I sell in my booth is purses. So when I go in there, I'm like, okay, if you see purses, come and get me.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, so I have to give a compliment to Jen. Cindy Loves Jewelry in the chat says, by the way, Jen, I love your hair.
Oh, thank you. It's funny. I made a comment. I had a video that I did, thebulk.com. I did a review, and then I did a follow-up video. And the funniest comment I got on that is someone said, oh, like the video, content is good. Thanks for the info, but you really need to do something with your hair.
No.
Oh my gosh.
I just about fell out of my chair. I said, I've typed LOL many times. I have never laughed out loud like I did when I saw that. And I was like, wow. I wasn't insulted. It was funny. And I said, everybody has their own opinion. This is almost my trademark now. So I'm like, you know, you don't have to look at it every day. It's all good.
Well, I like it.
So yeah, it's extra spiky today. So yeah, and I noticed I'm getting some grays there. You see them? I tell you, if you put them under a microscope, they got names on them. I won't tell you what names, but they got names on them. So thank you. I appreciate that. I use, it's a yellow tube, and it's called Got to Be Glued. So you can make your hair do anything when you put that stuff on. So
I need to get my son some.
oh, and you need just a teeny little bit. You just like put it between your fingers, and then it's really sticky, but it's really good stuff. So I mean, I can go out in a windstorm and it doesn't move. So
I wanted to ask everyone in the chat if they had a chance to watch Tam's video about her antique booth, what sold. I think it's so genius what she has done. And I need to figure out a way to do the same, because we were all talking about it back and forth, and I thought, how are you going to do that? Because it's not like you take pictures of everything. But you must have done videos, huh, Tammy? Is that what you did?
I worked on it a pretty good amount.
I figured you.
So I don't know. I'm going to have to figure out. How to get it down to a science, because right now it's kind of an experiment in progress.
Yeah. Well, I think it was great.
Well, I mean, it's easy. It's well, I won't really say easy, but it's a little bit easier if you sell on like eBay, or it's because everything's already on the computer. So all you have to do is screen share and just go through.
Right.
But when you don't have pictures of everything, you know, and trying to describe what something looks like to somebody is, you know, you really have to have a picture. So
yeah, and I don't always do haul videos of every single item I take to my antique booth. So again, I really have no way of showing. I mean, now if it's like a really neat piece, like that little Asian mannequin I had that one time, you know, I had pictures of her, but the other stuff, the smaller stuff that sells, you know, you don't really have a record of that, like to do a sales update video to show everybody.
Yeah,
right.
See, I do pretty much. I mean, it's a rare thing I don't show.
Right.
Like if I go in and buy one or two items at a thrift store or something, and I don't have a lot to share, or it's not a regular Monday haul or whatever, I mean, 98% of what I buy, I do a haul video and show what I got. And I like to show people, even if it's a smaller amount, because I don't want people to think, you know, every time I go out, I have literally a table full of stuff where I always find awesome things. I mean, sometimes I go out and I'm like, I got up early for this.
Yeah.
So
I know.
Yeah. So it's not always, you know, awesome stuff. Sometimes you just find a couple things, but I would there'll still be a lot of editing, because you'd have to go back to the video and then, you know,
a ton of editing.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that would be
have
a lot
no
of work.
idea how hard that was to do that.
I figured it was.
It was extremely hard.
Yeah, you're trying to make us step up our game here. We see how it
We're going to
is.
start taking pictures of everything.
You know, there's even times you go out to the booth and they keep our tickets. I don't know how you guys do it, but they keep our ticket. Yeah. So sometimes I'll even look at the ticket and I'm like, I have no idea what this item was.
Yeah, safer, definitely. Sometimes I wonder if somebody else's item didn't get on my printout.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'll even look at the ticket, or I'll get a readout. They send us emails twice a week to show us, you know, what's sold so far for that.
So nice.
That's nice. I really enjoy that. And sometimes I'll look on there, I'm like, oh, that's so and so. And then I go in, no, it's still there. It was something totally different. I don't, you know, I mean, when you sell a lot of stuff, I mean, you start forgetting, you know, what in the world was this? I wrote it out. I wrote the ticket. I still don't know what it is or where, you know. So just funny stuff like that. So, yeah. So, we getting any other questions in the chat? Anybody else have anything? We got about, you know, maybe 6-8 minutes left.
I'm not really seeing any more questions. Anybody have any quick questions for us? Type it in the chat.
Yeah, type it in there, and Tanya will let us know. But yeah, so far I'm pretty happy with how things are going. Something I just put out our video podcast. My sister and I, Two Sisters, One Booth. We just put that out yesterday, and we talked about something that I think is a new term, but it probably isn't somewhere in marketing world, that we, Kim and I, are concentrating on having profit dense areas in our booth, places where you can have a lot of jewelry or a lot of items that, in an individual small, maybe a square foot box size space, to have a lot of items, or stage something in such a way that it's it's a higher dollar amount. So, because our booth isn't going to change, the booth is always going to be the same size. And we pretty much have it how we want it as far as display and, those type pieces. So what are we going to do now to make sure that area keeps producing and we keep raising our profits? And one way is I bought a new stand for soap. So I'm going to be ordering more soap because that's been doing well in the booth.
Awesome.
The small display I have now only holds 11 different kinds. The new one's going to hold 20. So, and it's a spinner type thing. And so it takes up a smaller amount of space. So we're going to be working on that. Kim and I just went over a list of soap and just picked out some different scents. So I'm going to be ordering that soon. I've been buying some more jewelry and getting little Ziploc bags, and I have a way of displaying it. I have a video coming up soon that I have some bins to put that in. So it's not it's not a big tangled mess, but some people still like to dig, so it'll simmers as well.
Definitely.
So yeah, and I'm also been concentrating more on trying to upstyle a few things and add a little bit of paint and kind of rub it off, make it look a certain way, So I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on upcycling and,
love that stuff.
Yeah, and trying to find new ideas to update things that I see at the thrift store all the time. Like baskets and maybe wooden trays and just things you can find for $1 or $2, do something to them and then be able to resell those. So I am trying to take on a few more projects, but little projects, not anything crazy big,
Yeah. My brain works that way too. I'm always trying to repurpose things. So we did have a question in the chat, a couple actually. So
Okay.
Cindy Loves Jewelry says, has anyone tried a dollar jewelry sale yet? And I think that's a great idea. She has an antique booth, and she says that she's done really well with it.
Huh, that sounds pretty good. It's really nice to have different prices in your booth so you appeal to a lot of different people. I've often said I like it because, somebody can come in and spend $5 and get a couple things, or somebody can come in and spend much more. So having, it friendly to other budgets is great. The jewelry that I'm going to be offering is probably going to be, maybe mostly $10 and under. And it looks like a little drawer, and it has like a little pole on the front. I bought it at a local craft place. So that type of item where people will be able to dig through it. Because sometimes, I don't know, it's just so hard to display a lot of different jewelry in a very
and it takes up a lot of space.
Yeah.
It really does if it's going to look nice, especially if like I know Tammy uses the jewelry bust to display the necklaces. That can end up taking up a lot of space. But I definitely think once April gets here and our big sale this month is over, I'm going to experiment with that like Cindy does. So I think I'm going to probably just maybe get a little bin, because like Jen said, women especially love to dig through stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just going to probably put like $1, $2 at the most, and just a whole basket full of stuff, and just see how it does. Just put them in those little bitty jewelry bags and put my booth tag on there, $1, $2, and see how it does, just as an experiment. And that way I can tell you guys next month how it went.
Yeah, because something that I did the day I was working at my mall, a lady had two fabric like swatch books,
Mhm.
and they were like upholstery fabric, so it was more heavier stuff.
Right.
So I started using little squares of that to pin some of my jewelry items on before they go in the bag. So that gives you a hint of what my
Oh,
video is going to be like. So,
very
to be able
good.
to, even though you're digging through it, it's still kind of staged in the bag.
Yeah,
So
pretty, huh?
yeah, because it's funny, I've been to auctions where I bid on a box of jewelry and a lot of it necklaces and such, and you
Mhm.
literally pick up one thing and it's this big glop. And you're like,
Right.
oh no. So I've actually had to sacrifice a few of the cheaper looking ones by snipping it just because otherwise it was just a big
Oh, yeah, me
mess.
too. Definitely.
So yeah, so I was like, and with the jewelry jars you find, with the price that's on them, you could price the jewelry out individually pretty cheap and still make a chunk of money.
I agree, and I do that. So that's a good tip for
Yeah.
sure.
I've actually been seeing jewelry jars showing up in our antique mall.
Have you really?
Yep, people are selling them in the antique mall.
I
So
sell mine in the antique mall, definitely.
actually,
Yeah.
one of the girls, that another vendor that's there, she said she's just it takes her so long to get all the jewelry priced and fixed and displayed, and she said,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of over it. She said, so if I find, I'm just going to save it back, and she said, I'm just going to start making jewelry jars out of it.
Hmm. Some people
So
just do not possess the patience to sit
yeah.
there and price all that stuff
Mhm.
individually because it
and
is
I
time
can
consuming.
and I can tell you this,
I know
I
you
don't know
know.
if, yeah, well, and I'll tell you, last year, remember when I got all that monogram jewelry?
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yes. Okay. So I still have, like, I mean, I've been selling it pretty steady, but I still have like a ton of it. So I'm thinking, oh, because it's in a big tub. I've got so much of it. And I'm thinking, this takes up a lot of room. Do I want to, like, maybe try to offer this on like a yard sale site and for a
Mhm.
bulk price for all
Yeah.
of it? I'm just
Yeah.
kind of over
Well,
it,
you know
tired of
what?
fooling with
You
it.
have to consider your time is worth something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And I know there's a lady in our area that doesn't do jewelry jars, but she'll take like the freezer thickness, like Ziploc bags, like the sandwich size, and
Yep.
she'll stuff those for like $6 or $7 or $8. And she has a basket full of those. And when I'm working and I'm up by the register, they're coming through. So there are people who like to buy those not only to maybe resell themselves, or they like to piece part it out and make other jewelry,
Yeah, crafting
or
Yeah.
projects.
yeah, I mean, so that's a big draw if you get this bag and it's like you take it home and it's you just get to go through it. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's the way to do it. And ever since I started doing this jewelry, I'm like, I got to pick up a few jewelry jars. And of course, do you
Mhm.
think there's jewelry jars now? And I I went up to the counter and I'm like, and then after I walked away, I'm like, that was one of the stupidest things I've ever said. I'm like, when do you guys think you're gonna have more jewelry jars? And then I'm like when people donate jewelry. So I just had a
I don't
brain
think it's a
fart
stupid
moment
question at
there.
all. It's not
No.
stupid because a lot of those people know when jewelry comes out, when their jewelry pricers come into the store. So if,
Mhm.
they know when they're working, then they can tell you it'll most likely be out, Friday morning or whatever. So I don't think it's a stupid question at all.
Yeah, I just walked away going, oh, that's like saying, when are you guys gonna get more jeans in, or when are you gonna get more furniture in? Well, when somebody just drops it off. So yeah, that was not one of my shining mental moments, but but I'm like, keep my eyes out. Jewelry jars are probably in my area. They'll have between maybe $15 to $20. And if I pick them up on a half price day, then that's a better deal. The only ones I've been finding recently are the ones that have a lot of these really cheap, like bracelets. So like they'll have a whole jar, but it's like all just cheapy bracelets.
Yeah,
So yeah, so I just keep my eyes open, and that's something I'm always just gonna grab and pick up. So
right.
yeah, so I guess we're closing in on our hour, but I wanted to ask you guys. I know Tam said she's rearranging and she's going to do a booth tour for us on YouTube. Tanya, what things do you have coming up video wise that we can look for?
Like as far as my booth, I would love to try and figure out something like Tam is doing and show you guys, give you guys an update, because I can tell you all what sold, but it's hard to show. So I need to figure out a way to do that for sure. And I definitely want to experiment with the dollar jewelry like Cindy was talking about, a little basket of it in my booth, and see how that all works out.
Yeah, women love jewelry.
We do.
You just can't, I mean, you can't have enough of that stuff.
Mm-mm.
And if you can find a way to have it in a condensed, area, it's going to be all the better, because then it doesn't take up a lot of room. But, like if you have a big thing of jewelry and you priced it all out, I mean, you could have a couple $100 in a very small space.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's the video I'm going to be doing soon, is how I am doing staging and presenting the jewelry in my booth.
Good, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I also have a Salvation Army haul that I went to, where I actually got a box that was all taped up, and it says glass and collectibles, and it was $5 for the box.
I'm excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, $5 for a mystery box. I can afford that. We'll do that. So that'll be in the next week or so. Strangely enough, this entire week, Monday I had a haul, Tuesday I had a haul. Yesterday I had my sister and I's podcast put up. Today we are doing another video, and tomorrow, speaking of jewelry, I have a huge auction haul where I only spent $42 and picked up a ton of jewelry.
Oh, I'll be looking for that one too.
Yeah, so that one will be going up tomorrow. So, there's just so much that I want to share with everybody, and I'm trying to do more project videos to kind of show you how I'm repurposing some things, because I know people enjoy those too. So we must satisfy the masses.
Yes.
I think that I have it won't be on my channel, but we had scheduled it and we had to reschedule. But John at the Cincinnati Picker is going to interview me on his channel. Hopefully it'll be next week. We had scheduled for this week and we had to reschedule. So hopefully it'll be next week. But if you don't know him or not subscribed to him, check him out.
Yeah, John, the Cincinnati Picker. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure you put that on our Facebook group too. Just a quick reminder when that comes up.
Great idea.
Yeah.
We can watch that. So I've been wanting to do some more interviews and things for my channel. So I'm probably I would like to get my owner to sit down with me, and I don't know. I keep telling her every time I see her in the store, I'm like, you need roller skates so you can get around quicker. She's just a blur everywhere.
Right.
So she is one.
Tanya, I'm working on the same thing. I can't seem to. Well, actually, my antique booth owner, she is a part of our Facebook group now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I added her earlier this week. So she's part of the Judy Bannock. So she can kind of give us a little bit of insight, but I'm trying to line up an interview with her and she won't do it. She's very camera shy, but her daughter is willing to do it. And her daughter she works on the weekends and her daughter works during the week. So, and her daughter said she would be willing to do an interview with me. So I may have to interview her instead of the owner. So
you could always do a podcast, where she would, or you could do like a Google Hangout like this, but she wouldn't have to show her face. We could just hear her voice. That would be
that's true. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. I never thought about that.
You could do like the black background, the silhouette, and do the voice distortion.
Right.
No, I've been wanting to talk to my owner of my mall and see if maybe we could get her maybe on this show in the summer when it's a little less busy. And I would love to get her an interview or an angle like this where she's talking to other vendors. Like, what do you as an owner want vendors to know and things like that. So I think that perspective has never really been tackled. I mean, I did an interview with my previous mall owner where I was at, like, how did you start the store and where'd you get the idea and that kind of thing. So, more of a, hey, everybody, this is something interesting, but to have it actually focused on, I'm an owner, I'm going to talk to other vendors. Here's some of the things I really want you to know. So I'd love to, get that angle on that. So
I think that would be golden content for
definitely.
antique booth owners to hear something like that.
yeah, because the one thing I did ask her, I said, what's the hardest part of your job and what's the easiest part? And she said, it's the same answer. And I just kind of looked at her and she said, the people.
The people.
So I'm like, yeah, that's true. And when you have so many different people, different personalities, ages, backgrounds, it's very, very interesting. And both of the owners, the husband and wife team, they really interface well with all of us vendors. And that really is nice, because I know not a lot of people have that with their owners.
Yeah, I was going to say, not everybody possesses that ability to mesh and get along with everyone so well. So that's really good.
Yeah, my owner's the same way. She's so easy to work with, and everybody there seems to like her. Everybody gets along, so it's definitely easier when you have a great antique booth owner.
And it's like any job you have in life in general. When you have, you work somewhere, your boss, if they're good and they're kind and they're really fair. I mean, you want to go that extra mile. If they say, hey, could you help me with this or help you with that? You're like, yeah, because I know you'd help me if I needed it too. So that, having that kind of relationship is paramount, and it makes everybody make more money and enjoy themselves all that much more. So
yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess, do we have anything else? Are we ready to wrap up?
Yeah, I think next month Tammy will be hosting. It'll be on Tam's Place here on YouTube, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So if we have anything else, that should be it. Enjoy everyone tuning in and watching us at a later date. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. You can follow any one of our channels. When this video goes up, I'll put your links to your channels in there as well. We all have great content, and we have different personalities, and we all have so much information to share, and we all love talking. That's definitely something we have in common.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.